fighting at Cage Fury 112. That's right, Cage Fury 112, August 26th in Philadelphia. 1-0, a tough heavyweight with some serious knockout power. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ian the Hammer Allston. Ian, my man, what's up?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good, dude, for real. Thank you for coming on. I know you got plenty of other things on your mind.
I appreciate any opportunity to run my mouth for a little bit. You know what I mean?
That's what you said in the DMs. You said you like to talk about yourself, and I like people that like to talk about themselves. So, 2 weeks out, a little less than 2 weeks out now. How you feeling? Excited?
Good, man. Yeah, I'm always excited to fight. You know, it's these camps can run a little long sometimes. So it's like by the end of them, a lot of the time, like you're peaking and you're getting out of trainings and you're like, Jesus, I would just like to get in the ring or in the cage at this point and, you know, get your win. You feel like you log hundreds of hours in the gym. It's time to rock and roll.
Only, I think, 9 or 10 days away now, something crazy like that, 12 days away. So it's coming, man.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Hopefully I'm going to be there in person so we can meet up afterwards and I'll give you that post-fight interview too.
Oh yeah. Sounds good to me, man. You can buy me a drink.
Say less. I got you, bro. So you train at Daniel Gracie, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Best gym in the world, in my opinion. They're my Philly boys, my favorite. How did camp go?
It was good. You know, it was, there's always, you know, we have a ton of guys getting ready for fights. Some of them are on that weekend. You have some of the UFC guys who are getting ready to fight, you know, guys who are getting stuff lined up. You know, Sabatini's getting ready to fight. Brady's getting ready to fight. You have all these top guys as well. And that atmosphere goes, you know, there's a special buzz in the gym when all of the guys are getting ready to step in the cage, you know, like Deanna Bennett, who's a new addition to our team. She just fought on Friday or maybe last night for Bellator. So it's just everybody has been racking up competitions. My training partners are getting ready to fight the other heavyweights in the gym. So it's it's been a good atmosphere. I've really appreciated the push I've gotten from the coaches, from my teammates, from everyone. You know, I had some tough rounds yesterday for Saturday sparring to just cut my teeth and remember that I know how to fight and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, man. I mean, dude, Daniel Gracie Gym is 15-0 in the UFC. You guys are probably one of the busiest gyms in the country. So I imagine that's a madhouse in there.
It's wild, man. You know, it's not as crazy as you think. You know, I've been there forever. You know what I mean? I've been there. So I've been training for 11 years and, you know, I started at a gym called Semper Fi MMA. It's the same place Brady started out of. It's a little hole in the wall in Northeast Philadelphia.
Yep, I used to live right near there. So
yeah. So after that, I was sort of transitioning out of Muay Thai competitions, and I got linked up with Daniel because Julio who owns Julio Rosario, who owns Semper Fi MMA. He you know, Daniel, before he had his own place, he would occasionally come in and teach lessons at Semper Fi. So, you know, I had kind of that in to get in there and get started there. And so much has changed, you know, in the short time that I've been in MMA. You know, I made my MMA debut in 2018, which was only 4 years ago. And then I'm training for a few years before that. So, you know, we've gone from the American Street location for Daniel Gracie Philly, which was originally Henzo Gracie Philly, which was literally a basement in North Philadelphia. You know what I mean? Like you would go into this line of studios on American Street and you would step in and there would be the direct office area. And then you would walk down the basement and that was where we trained, you know? So it was, it smelled like sweat and mildew, like a basement would, where a bunch of sweaty guys train. And it's just, you know, we had a bunch of different stuff going on in the back part of that place and so many changes and transformations. And then, you know, Daniel linked up with Coach John Marquez, who I met not long after I really started at Daniel's, and his location was even smaller. It was in
on Fishtown, maybe.
It was on Frankfurt and Kensington.
Yeah, it's like Fishtown area-ish. Yeah,
right on that location, right under the L in this like loft situation. That place would get to be like 110 degrees during the summertime. People would slide around on the mats, that's how much sweat we had on there. And just like these humble beginnings for the team, you know, when we always had like guys like Jeremiah and Sean and Sabatini and Petrosky's a late ad that we picked up from Balance, but all of these guys who were coming through Daniels and coming into work, who are now hitting their peak, hitting their stride, becoming these huge UFC stars. So, it's not so much that the atmosphere is necessarily crazy, but I can say for certain now that our new location feels like a professional, like something like these big training centers that you see in like the more like MMA mecca gyms, like Jackson Wink, Duke Rufus,
ATT.
Exactly. Yeah. Like we now our facility matches the caliber of fighter that we're producing.
And I mean, for the casuals out there watching who don't know, we're talking about Jeremiah Wells, Andre Petrosky, Pat Sabatini, Sean Brady, 15-0 in the UFC, crazy gym.
Yep.
Hopefully I'm actually interviewing Petrosky on Tuesday, hoping. So we'll see.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Andre's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a real nice guy. I've talked to him a few times. So, we're talking about Philly, talking about your gym. Do you live in Philly? I don't need to know your street, but I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I grew up in Philly. I lived there my whole life. About 6 months ago, sorry, those are my friend's dogs. About 6 months ago, I moved out into the suburbs with my girlfriend, but, I still obviously will commute into Philly every day. My parents live there in Tacony. I'm Philly born and raised. It's a very, very late sort of addition to my life to be living in the suburbs.
Yeah, I was in Philly for 6 years. I'm out in the suburbs now, but it's a great area, man. I love Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I mean, Philly's, there's a reason it produces like top quality fighters, both boxers and MMA guys, and that's because it's a tough, gritty city. You know what I mean?
For sure, dude.
It is like I tell this story to people sometimes, but I told my parents moved to Tacony from the Northeast. I lived right near Semper Fi as well back in the day, which was a good neighborhood. You know what I mean? But my parents lost their house like however many years ago, and they moved down to right near the Tacony Palmyra. You know what I mean? And I think the week they moved in, somebody got shot in the chest and died like at the head of their. And that's not to say like people are just like robbing and killing all the time. Like their neighbors were nice, you know what I mean? But it's a rough city, man, and it got rougher, and it keeps getting rougher.
For sure, man. It's I hate to say it, but I think it was number 1 in USA in murders last year, which is horrible. But it's still a great city too. For example, where's your favorite cheesesteak?
My favorite cheesesteak. I'm a Northeast guy, so I go to Steve's.
Okay, I'm D'Alessandro's guy. So
you know what? I haven't been to D'Alessandro's yet. My friend lives a couple of my friends live in Roxborough, so they're like a hop and a skip away. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really sampled as much of the cheesesteak landscape as maybe a lot of people from Philly have. But when if I leave town for more than a month, when I come home, I want a Steve's. I'll go to Steve's.
I've never tried Steve's, so I'll put that on the top of my list to try.
Give it a try, man. It's they're solid. That's where I really think of.
I think pretty much any Philly cheesesteak's good in my opinion, but I'll definitely try Steve's.
Yeah, you really I learned this the hard way. If you go outside of Philadelphia or the Philadelphia area, because there's some places in New Jersey and in the New York area where you can go and you can get a steak and they're pretty solid. Yeah. But I remember one time, this was when I was like 19, I went out to California with my ex at the time, and we like circumnavigated the whole country. Like we went to Sacramento to visit a friend who was going to school out there. And we came back through Kansas, and I was feeling homesick. And there's this like little 50s style diner in the middle of Kansas, with the like aluminum siding and stuff like that, like real retro looking. And I stopped there, and they have a Philly steak on the menu, and I'm like, I know this is going to be bad, but I can't help myself. So I ordered it, and they bring it out after like 15 minutes, and it's just like 6 burnt pieces of beef on like a soft untoasted roll with American cheese and green peppers and shit. It was
welcome home, man.
Tragic. It was a real life tragedy.
That's good advice. Don't get a cheesesteak unless you're in the Northeast region. So let's talk about your fight coming up now a little bit.
Yeah.
Have you been eating a lot of cheesesteaks, or how's your weight looking? You looking on weight up there at heavyweight?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a heavyweight. Obviously, the weight cap is 266. I can tell you with confidence, I'm nowhere near 266 right now.
That's what I was curious about.
I don't like to be. If you look at my like my last three fights, I've really kind of honed in on the diet and nutrition aspect and strength and conditioning aspect of my game. And whereas early in my amateur career, I did a lot of sorry, I keep putting my thumb in front of the camera. My bad.
You're good, dude.
Whereas early in my amateur career, a lot of the time I was floating around like 250, 257, 245. I came into my fight against, for example, I came in against Daimir Rappa in October at 240, or 237 or something like that. So I was leaner than I usually was. And then, when I fought Dwight Maters for the belt, I was 231. And then I think I was 232 or 231 again when I weighed in to fight Dave Chuclia a few months ago. So 230, around that area is definitely where I'm comfortable at right now. I prefer kind of like unless I'm fighting some real freakishly huge dude with crazy power, I prefer to have like the speed, the mobility, the light build. I like to be lean. And I like to, really step on the gas as far as pressure goes and what I can put out as far as athletic output.
I mean, it definitely works. Not your last fight, but your fight against Mainers, it went the distance. And, for a heavyweight, man, you were good in that third. You were kicking his butt. So
yeah,
I would say it seems to be working for sure. Have you watched any tape on your opponent who's also undefeated? Want to know as well, Marcus Leach. Have you watched any tape at all? What are your thoughts there?
I like tape study. I usually do tape study kind of early in camp. Marcus doesn't have like a lot of tape available. I think a lot of his fights are with promotions where they're not necessarily putting the tape online or what have you. So I've seen his first fight, which is from years ago. And it's hard to judge exactly how somebody's going to advance or progress at that point. I know he's a southpaw. I know he's a big guy. And I know that he is primarily a striker. I believe he has a real kind of a boxing background, which is fine with me. You know what I mean? I like to move. I like to strike. I get built as a striker. So, it's not like I want to stand and bang with a guy who's hanging around 260 and has like a big build like that. But, all of my training partners are 260, 270, so there's nothing I see there that is completely alien to me. You know what I mean?
From a third party perspective, he's a big guy. I know he's a bouncer and I don't know if it's free time or that's what he does. His knockout win was against someone who was 0-6.
Yeah.
You seem like the much more well-rounded fighter. I'm sure you're going to come in as like a big favorite or whatever, but yeah, I think it'll be an exciting fight. I think he's going to definitely try to keep us standing and come for the chin, but like we've been talking about, man, that Daniel Gracie background for you, I think is going to take you a long way in this one.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of the thing is like, I think that heavyweights a lot of the time, even ones who are pretty proficient or have good records, rely on their ability to keep the fight standing up where they can sort of like they can catch guys in scrambles that they're not really ready for. You know what I mean? Especially guys who maybe are also in the same, of the same school, of the same mindset, where they just want to slug, they want to, swang and bang, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. The issue there is that when you look at the highest levels of heavyweight competition, or even just mixed martial arts competition, who are the guys who are winning the most fights, who's winning championships? It's very rarely guys who are going to, just be one-dimensional. And I'm not saying that Marcus is one-dimensional. I haven't seen any of his tape. But I know that as a martial artist, I have high level stand up. I know I have high level, grappling. I know I have high level ground game, for this weight class. And so essentially, anywhere it goes, I'm comfortable. So I'm willing to take it wherever I need to.
I love it, man. And I mean, that's a great point. I mean, even the heavyweight champion of the UFC, the highest caliber, Francis Ngannou, everybody saw him as this crazy knockout artist for years, which he was. But then he goes in there against Stipe, against Cyril Gane, and he out wrestles both of them. So Is it safe to say you're going to be using a very MMA style fight coming in against Marcus?
I don't want to say anything.
Keep it secret. Keep it secret.
Yeah, no, you don't talk game plan, and you also don't talk specifics because, as the great Mike Tyson once said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. But I will say that in a broad sense, I think that my skill set in every aspect needs to be considered. So if I put myself into the shoes of my opponent's coaches, let's say, I'm not just going to look at me as a fighter and say, okay, we need to beat him standing up. You have to worry about my stand-up game because I have probably the fastest hands in the region at this weight class. I'm an advanced striker technically, but also I'm, about to be a brown belt of jiu-jitsu. I train directly under a Gracie and under guys who are champions in jiu-jitsu. Our cage wrestling at Daniel Gracie's and Marquez MMA, high level stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's there's so many facets that are necessary to consider when you're going up against myself, any Daniel Gracie fighter. This isn't just like we're a jiu-jitsu school because we have a Gracie on the title. You know what I mean? Or we're not just strikers because we're from Philly and there's a high boxing pedigree. There's a lot to consider.
Yeah, man, you guys are not one trick ponies. I appreciate you even giving me that much. Obviously got to keep the strategy secret. So I'm excited to see what you come out with on the 26th. The fight's at 2300 Arena in Philly. You fought there before. What are your thoughts on that place? I've been there front row before for that's where I got the shirt at the grappling event last year. Dude, it's awesome there.
I love the 2300. Used to be the ECW. There's so much history there as far as combat sports. Like obviously a lot of MMA guys don't want to acknowledge the parallels or the connections to professional wrestling, but the truth is, like, the fan base, there's a lot of crossover. There's a lot involved as far as like MMA blowing up as a sport. It's absorbing some of the spectacle from professional wrestling. And so I think I love the 2300 for that reason, as well as the fact that I've been fighting there forever. My MMA debut at Art of War 7 in May of 2018 was at the 2300. I choked a dude out there in front of the hometown crowd. I've had many a fun night at the 2300 since then. I went to my big slugfest with Patrick Brady, another regional heavyweight champion. That was at the 2300. I love selling that place out. I love the pop I get when I walk out. At this point, like, I know I can move tickets. I know we'll pack that place, and I love going there. Honestly, it has an undescribable atmosphere as far as combat sports goes.
Yeah, you're gonna have that home field advantage, man. That place is gonna be loud for all you Philly boys.
Yes, sir.
So let's fast forward to the 26th now. You get the dub. You're 2-0. What's next in your career? Ideally, how do you envision the next steps to your career going?
I'm gonna say this as we go into it. You don't look past anyone. You know what I mean? I have not looked past Marcus Leach for a second. You know what I mean? Right now, my focus is fully on him and on his camp. He's a big guy. He's coming off of a win. Got a little bit of momentum as far as he goes. So I think, it's reckless to start talking about how far it goes. But as it stands, I know where my skill set is, and I know, if I do the things that I need to do and get through this one healthy and in one piece, I know there's a card for CFFC in December. I'd like to get on that one too. I think that, frankly, I think I'm the most exciting fighter above 200 pounds. I think in the region, in most of the country, you know what I mean? I think I make the heavyweight division and the light heavyweight division too. I think I make that a more exciting place to watch. So I'm going to, get through this, finish this one quick, hypothetically speaking, I'm going to start chirping, and I want the belt. I'm a champion. I come from a school of champions. I train under champions. And frankly, I think I deserve it. I think a solid and dominant win will put me, if not next in line, will put me in title contention for sure.
Love it, man. Love it. I love how focused you are too. So with these next two questions, these are also look ahead, fun, future questions. If you don't want to look there, tell me to buzz off and we move on. No problem.
That's all right. No, we can do it. Yeah.
So one, dream fight. I'm talking UFC fighters, current, retired, boxers, famous wrestlers, anything. What's your dream match?
Jiri Prochaska.
Love that, man. Ballsy too.
Prochaska, yeah. No, I've been saying this one, actually. It's funny that you asked this question. I've been saying this for a couple of months now. I watched him fight Glover, or whenever that fight was, 2 months ago, 3 months ago?
Something like that, yeah.
I watched him fight Glover, and then obviously I watched the Dominic Reyes knockout as well. And I love his style. I love how unorthodox he is. I love that he's weird, lanky. But I also see obviously the dude leaves his hands down everywhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. I would love to test his chin. You know what I mean? And I think that our styles would be such an exciting matchup at 205 pounds. As far as heavyweights go, I mean, Stipe is my hero, so that would be kind of a cool fight.
Yeah.
But obviously, by the time I get to the UFC, even if it's in like the next year, he'll have sort of aged out, and he's fighting huge fights now. He's looking at the John Joneses and the big money fights before he hangs the gloves up. So that one's a distant dream. But
Right.
Jiri, we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll make that one happen.
So that's actually a good segue into my next question here. It's another one about the future. Let's go forward 20 years, 30 years. You're retired. It's all said and done. What was your dream career? How did it go out? How did it play out if it all went down the way you wanted it to?
My MMA career?
Yep.
Oh man. So this is a loaded question because
Very.
Until like a year ago, it was tough to even convince myself. I lacked the confidence necessary to say truly that I would ever be a professional, let alone a professional with the eyes of the regional. You know what I mean?
Right.
Things have changed so much for me, but the sky is the limit at this point. I can say with confidence that like I really believe that I can take this thing the distance. And fuck it, if we want to get really lofty with it, I think that in 30 years time, first of all, I want to fight like 30, 40 times. You know what I mean? I don't want to be one of those guys who fights 15 times in their career and ducks out. I love to fight. That's where I have the most fun. And I want to fight the toughest guys. And I want to beat the toughest guys. And I want to be heavyweight champion, light heavyweight champion. You know what I mean? I would love to leave that legacy and be able to open my own gym or whatever and be able to hang those belts up from major organizations like the UFC, One Championship, Bellator. You know what I mean? One more thing is just I'd like to travel as much as I can doing this. You know what I mean? I feel like that's kind of the life of a fighter, of a warrior for hire is it's lonely and it is nomadic. You know what I mean? It takes you to far corners and far-flung places, and I embrace that aspect of the game. Yeah.
I love those answers, man. Really do. And you're so young. You're so talented. I think those dreams are very achievable. I'm just glad I got an early interview with you, man, because you're going to be a star someday, no doubt.
Bulldog, you can have as many as you like. Just stay in my camp, all right? You buy me that drink after on the 26th, and we'll set up the next one.
Yes, sir. Love it, dude. Appreciate it. So obviously, I don't need to tell you, fighting is a very physically, mentally demanding, challenging, just it's a sport, but it's a job.
It is.
Hey, maybe it's not, maybe it's not, but I'm just asking, when things get rough, if they do get rough, if you ever get down on yourself, where do you find inspiration, motivation to like keep going?
I've always relied on, this is not, I don't even know if I would call it cliche, but it's very common for anybody in any occupation. I look at my loved ones. I look at, my parents who have worked their whole lives to give me a life that is comfortable, considering we're, firmly working class. You know what I mean? I look at my grandfather and all of those guys, like my male ancestors who were in wars and in all this crazy shit. And like I look at the life I get to live, where I just basically train to fight every single day. And I just try to remind myself, considering how hard life has been for my family and how hard my family has had to work for me, that I am like blessed, privileged to be able to live this life. You know what I mean? I love fighting. When I can't fight, the times when I'm down on myself, Jake, are when I cannot fight, when I cannot train. So when I'm not able to do that, when I'm not able to live the life that I've been blessed to be able to live, that's when I feel bad. And that's when I have to remind myself that, look, no matter how long this thing lasts, like 11 years of my life were blessed, minimum. If my career were to end tomorrow, 11 years of my life were blessed with being able to train with the toughest guys in the world, hang with them, bang with them, and fight on a stage in front of thousands of people. And that's, I try to, stay grateful, stay positive. And, there's obviously, to I'll wrap it up in a second. Sorry, I get a little long.
You're good, man.
But I read different media and stuff like that. You have your I like the manga Berserk, if you've ever heard of it. It's like a Japanese comic. It's good. It's very storied, but it has a story about like a warrior, and just stuff like that, like favorite media and stuff about guys in similar positions that I draw a lot of inspiration from.
I love it, man. That's a great answer. It's a great perspective on like life and motivation too. You'd be surprised by some of the answers I get. That was a very like true, honest answer. So I love and appreciate that. Let's talk a little bit more about you as a person here, not about the fighter. Do you have any interests, hobbies, things you do outside of the cage? Tell me a little bit about Ian, the person.
Yeah, I mean, so I draw, you know what I mean? Like I've been drawing my whole life. I like to create artwork. I like to mostly fantasy stuff. Like I play tabletop games. I play Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, Warhammer. That's actually more common than you think in MMA. Like a lot of guys watch anime, they play video games.
Tons.
Yeah, they play tabletop games. I mean, look at Israel Adesanya. I've said this before, but he's so big because he tapped into a market that was there and just wasn't being like catered to. You know what I mean? The lineup between the correlation between mixed martial arts fans and fans of anime, manga, video games, all this nerdy, traditionally nerdy shit. It's always been there. It's just that, nobody was tapping into that.
Right.
So yeah, I like to make art. I'm an artist as well as a martial artist. I like to play video games. I like to read. I like to, I'm more of like a quiet night in kind of guy. So you'll very rarely, my times at after fights are the only times you'll catch me at a bar. You know what I mean?
I'm a similar type of introvert,
Yeah, I can tell by the Funko Pops on your Sorry.
No, you're good, dude. I put them there for a reason. I like them. So have you watched hold on, what's this say? I'm running out of time. Oh, I'm cheap. It's just giving me a notice that I'm cheap and I only have 10 minutes left. I don't pay for the full version. So anime, have you watched Primal?
Gendy Tartakovsky's Primal? Yeah, I've watched bits and pieces of it. I love Gendy Tartakovsky.
I've been trying to get everyone on that, dude. It's like my favorite freaking show. So good to hear you know what it is.
Funny story is when I was growing up, my very favorite cartoon was Samurai Jack, which is also Gendy Tartakovsky, as you know. I also love the Clone Wars Gendy Tartakovsky films, and I'm just glad that he's able to animation. Probably before I got like really serious about MMA, I would have wanted to be like an animator or an illustrator for video games, comic books, cartoons, that sort of thing. So the Clone Wars TV show that Gendy Tartakovsky worked on was a huge inspiration to me in everything else that I do. And just like, there's just something about like stoic, quiet, like warrior types and those kinds of animations that I really like and have drawn a lot of inspiration from. To go back to that other question you asked.
Yeah, man, I love it. I'm glad we're both nerds at heart,
Sure.
So, Ian, we're wrapping up here. I only have 2 questions left for you. One, I don't even know if it'll be relevant, but the podcast I run is called Tapped Out. We're a betting podcast on the BetQL network. Do you sports gamble at all? And if you do you have any bets or thoughts on UFC 278 coming up next week?
Now, UFC 278, who's the main event on that one? Remind me.
Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards.
Okay.
Let me just ask, who do you think is going to win that fight then?
That main event is hard to bet, but I usually put my money on Marty just because he is a bad dude. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody dethrones him. I think he retires, not undefeated, but undefeated as champion. And they're going to have to scramble to take that throne away. But that's a hard one to bet. Leon Edwards is tough. He's well-rounded. He's grown a lot since they first fought. If anybody was going to do it, it would probably be him. You know what I mean? A lot of people point to Khamzat Chimaev. I think Leon Edwards probably has the best chance.
I fully agree. I'm with Kamaru, but yeah, man, Leon's no joke, so it should be a good fight.
Yeah. I don't bet a lot. I have friends who bet very heavily. I'm actually at my friend's house right now, who's like the main bettor in my group.
Yeah.
I stopped by to just hang out and watch whatever sports ball game was on today. But yeah, I don't bet all the time, but when I do bet, I usually bet on my friends. Anybody from Daniel Gracie, I usually have $50 on just because I know I'm getting easy money that night.
Easy, dude. Agreed there. So last thing I wanted to do here is I just wanted to give you the opportunity for a second. Take the mic, you have anything to say to your friends, family, supporters, fans? You're going to have a lot of eyes on you. Mic is yours.
I'll say this much, thank you to all of my friends and family who've supported me. This is a tough life for my mom, for my dad, people who love me, who have to watch me go in and possibly get my teeth kicked in. You know what I mean? I appreciate the patience. My mom especially has come a long way. I love you, Mom. I'll say this much as far as the future goes, though. Somebody has to be a star. Somebody has to be a champion. Why not me?
Love it, man. Why not? And let me tell you why not. There is no why not. You're a stud. You're young. You got a lot going for you. August 26th at the 2300 Arena, CFFC 112. It's going down, my man. Ian, thank you so much for real. I know you got a lot going on, training camp, cutting weight. Well, maybe not cutting weight, but
no, sir. No, sir. I'm privileged.
But for real,
thick boy privilege.
Well, hey, man, we're gonna see you glide in the octagon. So thank you so much, Ian. Guys, everyone, I'll link his stuff in the lower third. Go follow this guy. Go check out his fights. He is a stud. He will be a name to remember. Ian the Hammer Allston. Thank you, dude.
Thanks, Jake.
Yeah, we'll get that beer after the fight too, yeah?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.